I think it comes from a belief that you can't do it all yourself. And Jack, I'm going to repeat a lot of the things I've said to you over the last
Mhm.
year, and you get to see it quite often is we don't do this alone, right? And not being afraid when I've come in and spoken to the classes, it's
Mhm.
admitting that I don't know everything, right? That I need people's help. Don't forget to tell me if you don't agree with me. Um, so I think in the most recent things I've been saying to students is don't be afraid to network, right? This is AI and social media. It doesn't get it done. It is people that help you.
Hello, Scott. Thanks for coming on with us today.
Great to be here, Jeff. Good to see you.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me on today. I appreciate it.
So, Scott, helping and serving others seems to be a big part of your life and your career. Help us understand, where does that come from for you?
Uh, I think from a young man in serving and coaching has always been part of my experience. Collaboration, and I think that was brought forth in my early days. In my early 20s, I had a boss who wanted me to help coach his hockey team. I was a former hockey player and got involved then. And then later on with my own kids, helping them and coaching them. And then through a church organization, I started doing um, trips to Mexico with high schoolers to build houses. And I did that for about 10 years. And it's just evolved to working. I was a board member of the Boys and Girls Club. I was on the Care Foundation and Habitat, as well as later on another service board within the Master Builders Association, and now working on the Runstad Advisory Board. Just has been part of the joy that I get in working with others.
Good. Well, in your work today, what does it actually look like to serve people well?
I think our world is setting expectations and meeting them, and then having some fun. This real estate can be a tremendous grind. Our types of transactions are long term, they're not quick. They take months, if not years. And during that time, you have the opportunities to grow and evolve relationships. And those are relationships that you want for the future and not just to be transactional. So I think that's how I apply that principle and who I am as a human being.
Before we go any further, can you give us a quick snapshot of your role today and what you're primarily focused on in your work currently?
Well, our primary business is being land advisors. We are brokers in the state of Washington. Land Advisors is a privately held company that covers about 30 markets in the US. I own the only franchise here for the state of Washington. So we cover the state of Washington. We have a team, as you know, Jack. Jack has been interning with us for the last several months, and he's heading out to travel the world, and then his hockey enterprise, which we can talk about. But today, my primary role is leading our team in sourcing and transacting residential land, primarily targeted to publicly traded and larger scale builders.
Real estate can be a pretty transactional industry. What makes a relationship truly meaningful to you?
That it's stronger and better at the end than it was at the beginning. I think you've heard me say, Jack, I don't burn bridges. One of the things that's important to me is the integrity of a relationship, and that means sometimes not getting your way or feeling that your position is the only one, and discerning and contemplating all aspects of a decision, and some of which may not be to my liking, but what is the betterment of moving a deal forward? Certainly transactions are what pay the bills. But I think we've all been involved, and you will be in your life, Jack, and I know Jeff has, is that sometimes it just takes two people sitting down and talking about things and working it out rather than just, kind of see who can hit each other hardest at the end and who falls down. So, uh, compromise is a big part of our business. Seeing a bigger picture and looking for relationships that we can re-engage on other opportunities in the future. So all of that kind of wrapped into one.
I like that, Scott. You've said it before. We're not just brokers, we're advisors for life for the land.
Yep.
Next question. You've done a bit of service outside of your work. How has that shaped the way you show up professionally every day?
I think it has a large part of it, Jack. I feel very fortunate in my life to have had experiences and family and business opportunities. I've also look at it as a blessing to have gone through, the major recession when you were maybe not even born yet. But those are all things that have helped form me and in my growth and looking at opportunities. But serving others, I think, has always been a fundamental part of my life. My mother was a nurse. She was a geriatric nurse. And so I saw her when I was a young man helping people that, were not at the beginning of their life, certainly. And that gave me that attitude and I think perception that serving others is really, and my family and people I work with is really where I get a lot of joy.
Well, that's great, Scott. I think of you as service, stewardship, and relationships. You and I don't remember how many 20 plus years ago we did go through the great financial crisis and all that. And you're right. I mean, it's a small world, especially in real estate in the Seattle area. And you've added a lot of experience, a lot of impact on the community around here. Is there a project or deal you're especially proud of it that you worked on?
Um, I think, in Jeff, this year in the business, you do one and then you move on to the next one, right? And your memory is short because it's usually there's pain involved with each one of those transactions. But globally, I've been in real estate since 1986 and started in Virginia and then came out here in the 90s. So I'm very proud of the original community that I came out here to do, and that was Lakemont, which was one of the few master plans in the 1990s, and that has stood the test of time. But there are small deals that are insignificant that I'm really proud to have pulled them off because the seller needed it to happen, or there was a vision for something happening that we all kind of believed in that happened that we didn't think could happen, and pulling together a lot of people to do that. So you know I I recently finished selling the last phase of Rosario, which was a resort that isn't really in the mainstream of my business, and that was a 5 year deal. Took 5 years, and that's an iconic part of Washington, even an international name. So that was kind of fun, different, selling a resort on an island. Kind of tested me, but we got it done. So yeah, there's all of these opportunities. I don't know that because of their scale or size, that's not as important to me as that the outcomes were as close as possible to the expectations of the buyer and the seller. I think that I look at those, and if I can check those boxes, I'm good.
Nice. And you mentioned Rosario. Being a boating family, I grew up going up there to the San Juan Island. So, I mean, seeing that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool you to be a part of. And the other things around here, I mean, so what you mentioned, Jack was your intern. Jack was my grader and my student, at the UW. And so shifting to the UW and the Runstad Department of Real Estate, that you're a part of the advisory board. Tell us more about that and how it came about.
Well, I was made aware of Runstad through my son Alex, who went through the MSRE program, kind of on the tail end of COVID, and he told me what a great program, what a great experience it was, and what I came to understand was that it had a really high commercial focus, right? And that there wasn't really the residential and land side represented. And part of my giving back, as we've talked about in mentorship, I had the opportunity to work with Shannon Underwood's son, Sean Underwood, and I reached out to him and I said, knowing that his mom was Shannon Underwood, I said I'd like to see if I could be part of the board. And so I had lunch with Shannon, and she interviewed me, and she's a very tough interview. Asked me some very direct questions, but I felt that I wanted to try to be a facilitator, Jeff, for young students in the program to see this side of the business, to see the residential land side of the business, and those aspects. And I've been fortunate and grateful for being given the opportunity, and now starting to see young folks like Jack and helping others, both from the MSRE and the undergraduate program, now working as analysts and land acquisition and that I get to work with, which is tremendous. And it's been part of my dream, and I see it now happening.
For students or young professionals, Scott, listening, how would you approach building a career that's both successful and grounded in service in the industry?
I think it comes from a belief that you can't do it all yourself. And Jack, I'm going to repeat a lot of the things I've said to you over the last
Mhm.
year, and you get to see it quite often, is we don't do this alone, right? And not being afraid when I've come in and spoken to the classes, it's
Mhm.
admitting that I don't know everything, right? That I need people's help. Don't forget to tell me if you don't agree with me. Um, so I think in the most recent things I've been saying to students is don't be afraid to network, right? This is AI and social media. It doesn't get it done. It is people that help you and want to help you. There are many, many people out there who are of like mind to me that want to help you and to help others in their career. So I think combining that along with you know a true purpose-filled life of helping others combines, and it's seamless, right? That's just how I operate. So I don't turn it off when I go home, right? Or on the weekends. That's just who I am, because you know me, I enjoy a laugh once in a while, right? And it keeps it light, it keeps it heartfelt, it keeps it honest. Um, and that doesn't mean that we don't have tough conversations, but I think that attitude of service and support, not knowing everything and remaining humble has gotten me this far.
I can attest to that. I remember literally this spring last year when you came out and spoke to our class. You were a little scary there up at 8:30 in the morning on a Thursday, but when you dropped Notre Dame hockey in, it made me a little more comfortable to go up and talk to you afterwards. And it's funny how one small comment like
Mhm.
that can lead to this whole year.
Yeah. And you did it though, right? You came up and talked to me.
If you had to share one piece of advice from your real estate career, what would it be?
Keep grinding. You know, you're going to get knocked down. You're not going to get exactly what you wanted. You're going to make a mistake. You're going to be told no. Um, the deal's not going to close when it's supposed to close. You're going to get a setback. All of those things. Take a moment, think about it. Try not to react, and keep grinding. There's another hill. There's another day. Regroup. Use your brain.
I love it. I always tell my students, like I love hiking, I love climbing. You can always take one more step, no matter how tired you are. Or if you're a student, you could read one more page in that book. You could try that problem, one more time. And things don't always come easy to some students. I tell people, I joke that I teach a class that when I was an undergraduate, I took, and it didn't come as easy to me and perform as coming from construction as maybe some of the others, but it's an amazing experience. It's an amazing program that we're lucky to have at the University of Washington. We're lucky to have you, Scott, be a part of it. So if people want to connect with you, follow you, what's the best way for students or people in the industry to do so?
Well, first of all, thank you, Jeff, for inviting me on to talk to you, and having Jack here is very meaningful. So yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. We have our website, landadvisorsnw.com and landadvisors.com. Hit me up. I'm happy to connect, have coffee, talk about the industry, talk about life. That's to me would be tremendous.
That's wonderful. Scott, thanks for coming on, sharing your perspective, your stewardship, your mentorship, and all that with us today.
Well, thank you, Jeff, and thanks for having me. And Jack, I'm going to say this and keep this in the podcast, that one day we're going to read about Jack being in the front office of an NHL team.
I appreciate those kind words, Scott. And thank you, Jeff, for putting this all together. This has been a fun experience, and I'm happy to do this with Scott and you. This is really special to me,
Yeah,
especially with only 2 weeks left in college. It's a fun way to finish it off, especially for the Runstad department.
awesome. Well done, Jack.
Excellent. Thank you, guys.
Take care.